no more delay. I don't know where he is. I'm looking for David Glasser. He's our first storyteller. Hey, so come on, David, welcome up.
Well, hi, y'all. How y'all doing? Good. It was just another Friday night. I clocked in at work. The piano man was leaning into the keys, filling the room with his soulful sound. The bartenders were back there slinging their drinks. The linemen in the kitchen were assembling entrees. And the waiters were whirling around the dining room, taking orders. But every pair of eyes in the room kept drifting over to the television. There was some storm brewing in the Gulf. Now, we've heard that story before. I have heard that story before. But this one had a name. Katrina. Yeah. No matter how alive and just the atmosphere and the jokes that were going on in the room, it just didn't cover up the sound of the news. The room was alive, but the air was just holding its breath. Now, typically, at this point in hurricane prep, we board up the windows, we shove the plants into the garage, we make sure we have enough alcohol to last for a few days. But this time it was different. This time the storm was getting bigger, and this time my father stepped in. My father is in OPD, 40 years now. And when a storm comes, he doesn't get to leave. He has to stay. But now he's telling us to leave. Growing up with a father as a cop, especially in New Orleans, in the 90s, was its own kind of storm. The anxiety in the house had this hum. It was just always there. Every time the phone would ring, I braced myself. Every time he walked out of the door, I wondered if it would be the last time that I would see him. But him staying behind for a storm wasn't new to me. I've seen this before. He had the tactical gear, right? He had the vest, right? He had the radio, this look that made him seem indestructible. And I'd admit it, as a kid, looking at this stuff, it looked cool. But underneath all of that armor was my fear. So then came the order to leave. Back up to my dad, though. He was a loving dad. He provided for me. He gave me things, everything that I needed. He always put me first in ways that I never even recognized until much later. And there was this contradiction, right? There was this father that loved me, and then there was this cop that I thought would never come back. So I was dealing with that. Oh, back to the order to leave. We pack up everything that we could, blankets, clothes, as much po' boys and gumbo as we could fit into our cooler, which is probably whatever was in the fridge. And we hit the road. But before we did, I remember my father standing there with his cup of coffee and his radio on his shoulder. And he didn't say anything because he didn't have to. The silence spoke enough. Right? I remember I kept looking back at him, at the house, at the city that was about to drown. And as we drove further away, everything just got smaller in the rear view mirror until it was just a bunch of boarded up houses and empty streets. Our caravan was 3 deep. We had 3 cars. It was me, my wife at the time, it was my stepmother, and then we had our family friends, and then their niece with her 2 little kids. And what usually takes us about 5 hours took us 16 hours to get to. It was gas lines for miles. Chaos was everywhere. Fear was everywhere. If you had to pee in bumper-to-bumper traffic, this is what you do, right? You open up the front door of the car, then you open up the back door to the car, and then you just kind of go right there, right? But if you didn't have a back door, right? Yeah, God help you there. Yeah, so we finally get to this little place called Seaside, Florida. I don't know, some of you might have heard of it. It's a family friend helped us get there, a place to stay. It's where they filmed The Truman Show, very picture perfect, but it wasn't. The kids got bed bugs, they got sick, there was diarrhea, and we were all running around with our heads cut off trying to figure out what to do. And then in the middle of all that, this 3-year-old little girl looks up to us and says, "I'm so traumatized." That's when we stopped. We just took a breath. This was time that we had to put our big boy and girl panties on and deal with it. Monday morning came, Katrina made landfall, and was it time to go back? Nope. No power. Streets are cluttered with debris. Just chaos. The headquarters of the police were flooded. There was no radio. The cell towers were down. It was just a mess. Nobody knew what was real. You know, they were saying that there were sharks on Canal Street, that there was a hole in the Superdome. It was chaos. So we decided to make our way closer to the city so that we could be of assistance or help or just have news of what's going on with my father. The anxiety and whatnot and fear were through the roof at this point. So we make our way to a little town south of New Orleans, and we load up on supplies, we load up on food, and anything we could get our hands on, and we bring it into the city. And I finally get to see my dad a week and a half later. His utility belt that he had, you know, that police have, it was a rope to keep his clothes up. His car that he had, his fancy police car, it was held together with duct tape just to keep rolling. This man that, you know, had this post of a city for 40 years was being held together by rope and duct tape. The city was uninhabitable. Like I said, there was no power, there was no food, no clean water. It was just stories of this chaos. Bodies in the convention center. Work told me that I could pick anywhere in the country and they would give me money for room and board. Loyola University said that I could go anywhere and transfer there, anywhere, right? And this should have felt like freedom to me, but all I felt was this fear, right? This phone call that at any time could come telling me my dad was not okay was right there. And so every time the phone rang, I braced myself. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to stay because if I stayed, I'd just be taking resources from people that needed it more than me. But I didn't want to leave because I couldn't leave him behind yet. And so I was stuck in this decision because I was too fearful. So I see him again. This man that I've watched as I've grown up in this polished uniform, now in tattered clothes, you know, held together with rope and duct tape, and I'd never seen him like that before. He was vulnerable. I told him my options, my plan, and he listened. And he did what I think was probably the hardest thing that a father could do. He said, "David, you should go. You should follow your dreams. You should live your own life." The first time I left the city out of fear, now I have his blessing. It was just another Friday night in a little empty parking lot in a little town called Laplace. I looked my father in the eyes. He said, "I love you very much." We held each other. We cried. Because we knew that I wasn't just leaving the city, I was leaving home. It's not just another Friday night anymore when you've survived a storm like that and your Father has given you the strength to walk into your own life. Thank you.
So I asked everybody 6 questions, and that's how you're going to get to know them. So I'm going to introduce David and then Matt. So here's the questions. Number 1, what is your most useless talent? David can come up with the weirdest thing to say on the spot in any given situation. Now, I think that could work for him and against him, right? What is your weirdest or most unusual job? David said he can't really think of a job he's had that's been weird or unusual. He's waited tables, bartended, worked retail, and currently he's a sex therapist. So, is that true? Because that's kind of an unusual job.
Yeah.
So, would you agree he's had an unusual job?
You don't want to demonstrate.
And he has cards here. No, I'm just kidding. His happy place. His happy place is at home with his wife and kids and dogs, and that world is small and safe. His least favorite food as a child, and does he love it or hate it now? When David was a kid, he had 2 action figures he played with. The good guy was named Cheese, and the bad guy was named Broccoli. He does eat broccoli now. If he could bring back any fashion trend, it would be the pastel t-shirt and the white blazer. I don't remember that.
Miami Vice.
Oh, right. It was pastel. Okay.
Yeah.
Miami Vice. It was very cool. Okay. When you are feeling stressed, how do you deal with it? When David's stressed, he starts talking, this is crazy, in accents, all accents. He finds it to be a distraction or a disassociative thing. So, anyway, and just to sum up David in a few sentences, he has lived his life in Prescott since 2018. He came here for addiction treatment. He is now a therapist working at the same facility. He met his wife and family in 2019. They enjoy scooter rides through Prescott. They also enjoy hiking and camping, and they don't get to it too much. Anyway, that's David, all right? Gratitude, applause.